7:30 here at 55 KRC, the talk station. A very happy Wednesday to you. Brian Thomas here, happy to welcome back to the 55 KRC Morning Show. Let me count the ways, how many reasons he is better than his challenger. Senator John Husted, of course, going to be on the ballot next November. Pivotal election. Welcome back to the program, John. It's always a pleasure having you on the show.
Brian, great to be with you.
We're really gunning for you. I have every confidence in the world you can beat Sherrod Brown on a multitude of reasons, not the least of which is the guy is way too crazy far left. So let us talk about you've been out and about listening to workers, small businesses, educators, healthcare workers, fanning out across Ohio as you campaign for the seat. What are you hearing from folks? What are the primary concerns being expressed to you, John Husted?
Well, I think it's always the economy. People want to make sure that we're fighting back against inflation, the Joe Biden inflation that was created. That's certainly on the top of people's list, making sure that the economy is strong. But what's emerging a little bit is in certain areas is crime. People are concerned about growing amount of crime in our state and in our communities, in our nation. But, it's always about the economy. It's helping make sure people have the right kind of skills, that they're getting good pay, that the economy is growing, so there are ample number of jobs, and that we're pushing back against, our foreign competitors like China who've stolen those jobs over the years and undermined, basically the global economy. And they're happy that President Trump's fighting back.
Yeah, I think most of us are, and I saw that U.S. manufacturing recorded its strongest pace of growth in more than 3 years in August, according to S&P Global. That's positive economic news. There is a lot of positive economic news out there. But what is concerning when you mentioned Xi Jinping, China, India, and Russia all getting together, the three leaders getting together, enjoying some smiles and laughs and handshaking. Do you have any concern more broadly down the road that the unification of those three countries, the largest by way of population? I mean, we're all very worried out here, the unwashed masses, about our fiat currency. We're all worried about $37 trillion in debt and the debt service that keeps growing on that. Somewhere out in the world, it wouldn't shock me that people might wake up and say, you know what, there has to be a better alternative to the fiat currency of the United States of America, John.
Well, that's why we've passed some of these bills related to crypto, so that people who have concerns have the ability to transact in different ways. There's no doubt about that. But also the situation with China, India, Russia. Look, I can tell you that people around the world are very scared. European powers are scared of the fact that Putin could turn on them just like he did on Ukraine. And I will tell you that when we buy from China, when we buy from Russia, we're financing that war. We're financing those, in some cases, evil deeds, evil empires, evil leaders who want to, they don't want to just compete with America. They want to defeat America. That's what we need to understand in our mentality. And I think the things have gone wrong with India right now is because they want to continue to buy oil from Russia. They want to continue to finance a war in Europe. And this is a critical time. This is a tough time in global economic military history in terms of how we need to make sure that America is positioning itself economically, militarily to be strong for the future.
I guess ultimately, does it benefit us to cut off ties with those countries? I mean, again, we're talking about, is it just really Russia, Ukraine? I don't think Ukraine really has any impact on our domestic security. It's my personal opinion anyway. But India, I mean, the old adage, the fool is the one that's not looking out for his or her own best interest. India needs the oil. They need the energy supply, and it's the cheapest place to get it. They don't have any stake in the action with Russia and Ukraine.
Look, I can tell you this. India right now this is what the fight is about, is that they are continuing to finance the war. And I think the president wants to have peace. It doesn't mean that we have to pick sides. We can be a fair arbiter in that discussion, but China wants to see the war perpetuated. They love it when America and Europe are occupied with Russia. They can go ahead and put more money in their coffers, build a bigger military, build economic superiority, which is their goal. And we just have to go eyes wide open. I'm not suggesting that we can completely decouple from India and China. I'm not suggesting that at all. I just think that where our strategic interests are at hand, we need to make those things in America for our economic and national security. That's where I'm really focused with my thoughts on this.
Right, and I view Chinese Communist Party as a much bigger threat than anybody else in the world. Yet here we are going on and on and on, supporting the Chinese Communist Party and their military buildup and the inevitable takeover of Taiwan by continuing to buy all of their green products, solar panels, windmills, the component products, all of our pharmaceuticals, on and on and on. So we're doing, in essence, what India is doing in supporting Russia. That helps Russia's effort with the war. We're helping the Chinese Communist Party's effort, attack us, in effect, monetarily.
Well, I think that, in my opinion, that we're decoupling from that with some of our trade policies. The America First agenda is about making things in America. The tariffs are about, hey, let's not let China sell into our market. Let's level the playing field. Let's have fair trade. Let's allow more of these products to be made in America or with American allies. Those are the things that we need to do to bring back the critical elements of our, like everything that's important, like making computer chips, high on the list of things that need to be made in America. Our pharmaceutical supply chain, that needs to be made in America. Every single thing that's essential for our warfighting capabilities, that needs to be made in America. Those things need to be decoupled from China and people who are not friends of us, and that's where I think we're going with this economy right now, where the president wants to lead.
All right, well, pivoting over, I see you joined a bipartisan bill to return stolen refund checks to American taxpayers. That sounds like a good thing. What's this one all about, John?
Well, a lot of times we make it hard for Americans to get back their money from the IRS, and we want to make it easier to do that.
We have a problem with bureaucracy.
It's just all of these little things, Brian. I'm discovering all of these things about the federal government. Like I knew a little bit about how difficult it is, but my goodness, this thing is so big and so hard for the average citizen to get action from. This is one of the things we try to do in my Senate office, is fight on behalf of Ohioans who can't get the federal government to act, and this is just one more way to do it.
And finally, before we part company, Senator John Husted of Ken, a much better choice than we know who the other guy is. Ohio Community College, he's got a message for the Ohio Community Colleges with regard to the workforce Pell Grants.
Yeah, because think about this. For many, many years, workforce Pell Grants were for people to go to college, but Pell Grants are for people who tend to be lower income, okay? That's who we're talking about.
Right.
But they could never be used for short-term credentials, skills like where you could earn these skills in 8 to 15 weeks, all right? And we changed the law to allow that to happen so that now they can become CNC machinists, welders, things like that, get these credentials and go to work in the trades.
That's
what
awesome.
I'm talking about with and before it was like you got to go for 2 years, you got to go for 4 years. Well, a lot of people can't just not work for 2 years or 4 years. They need to go to work, and they need a job, and they don't want to go to college. They just want to work a skill. And this change that we made to Workforce Pell in the big beautiful bill, by the way, is allowing working people to get these skills in a short term so that don't have college debt. Most employers don't want degrees. They want skills. This is what's changed about the world, and it's about time that we get our systems in line with what's going on out there in the real world.
That's great. And plus, if you have some work requirements with regard to receiving federal aid, you can use the work requirements to apply toward a trade program, which is only a matter of weeks as opposed to years. As you mentioned, you'll be hitting the ground running with a job because there's so many hundreds of thousands of jobs out there in the trades that are currently unfulfilled. You got a lot of the illegal immigrant population being booted out of the country. Quite often they might do that. Those are job openings and availability. That way you get people off of the system. It's beautiful. Senator Husted?
Yeah, and this is absolutely the way the system should work, but the university system and the status quo always said no. But now I think we're turning the corner on this, Brian, where people realize like college is fine, but it's not for everybody. And most jobs don't require a degree. They require a skill. Yep. And if you want to go get college beyond that, great. But how about getting a skill, getting a job, going to work, putting some money in your pocket earlier rather than putting debt on your balance sheet, right? It's like, think about this. This is a much better way to go about it. And it's a funny thing. This is one of the first things I did when I got here. I was one of the committees I'm on oversees education, and I worked with Susan Collins from Maine, and we did this like in a very short period of time. And it's great. I'm really happy. It's like when I took this job, it's like I wanted to get some things done. Well, this is getting something done where we're helping people get workforce skills rather than have to, go to college for 2 or 4 years before they get a degree. We're putting them to work.
Yeah, and a few years down the road, they'll look back and reflect on the work that you did, Senator Husted, in getting those workforce Pell Grants for these skills jobs, because they're going to be happy, they're going to be employed, they're going to have a family, they'll have a house, they'll have an income, and they'll be like, thank God for John Husted and the others who brought this opportunity to us. John Husted, I really appreciate you joining the program, and congratulations on that feather in your cap. I wish you all the best, John. You always have an open forum here on the 55 KRC Morning Show to talk about the issues, and I got my fingers crossed for you. You certainly have my vote.
Great. Thank you.
My pleasure.